So hi Mbakumua, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
Very good,
Yeah,
very good. Yeah, good to have you on the show today.
it's a pleasure to be here, actually.
Definitely.
When Judith reached out, was actually been excited ever since
Yeah,
and looking forward to this opportunity.
yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. How would you describe what you do in less than a minute?
In less than a minute,
Yeah,
wow. What I do, I try and uplift and empower young entrepreneurs. That's mainly through sorts of providing skills, knowledge, or any sort of resources that are within my means to do so. So usually we cater by providing a lot of workshops and trainings for young entrepreneurs, but not only entrepreneurs, just the youth in general. So even your out of school, your unemployed youth, or even the ones from marginalized communities as well. Yeah.
yeah, nice. And okay, what are the steps if someone wants to become an entrepreneur that you would advise them to take?
I always ask that question when I engage with like entrepreneurs myself at workshops and so forth, because I myself have a passion of wanting to be an entrepreneur, starting my own business. And one thing they do say that actually stands out is like, it's not for everybody. It's not everybody that's meant to be an entrepreneur, because what comes with it or what people usually see is the success, it's the highlights, the good times. They don't really see what happens behind the scenes, the stress, the depression and so forth. So I think first things first, of course, you have to identify yourself as a person that has the abilities as well as the mindset to be an entrepreneur. Also, I guess not just to be one, but a successful entrepreneur, because a lot of people start businesses and they fail if not in the first few years or months even. So I think first thing is obviously identify that you have the capabilities and characteristics to be an entrepreneur. Secondly, I think obviously is having an idea, not just generally an idea. Everybody has ideas. You can think of ideas. They say you think of your best
Yeah,
ideas while you're in the shower, right?
yeah,
Yeah. So everybody has ideas every single day, but then having an idea that you can turn into a full scale business. So I could come from anything, honestly, whether it's just a passion, a hobby that you've picked up, or a viable solution from a problem that you've identified in your community or in the world. And once you've identified your idea, obviously next step is implementation. Yeah, so that's where you have to talk to the right people. It helps, honestly, having a circle with like-minded people, of course. So you got to talk to the right people, obviously secure your capital and stuff. But before you even get to those stages, because those are probably the further stages within the journey, I think the first few ones that I would mention, obviously, is have an idea or identify yourself as an entrepreneur, have your idea and implement, or an idea how you're going to carry out this business of yours.
nice. Yeah, before we go into the deep version of what you just said, I want
Yeah.
to start with you first. Like, what got you into entrepreneurship?
What brought me to entrepreneurship? You know, like most kids, then you're in school, you're obviously trying to figure out how to make some extra cash on the side.
Yeah.
So it's a bit cliche,
Yeah.
but I was one of those, who were at school selling lollipops, selling stockies, toffees, all these things at school. Obviously, I got in trouble for that because I went to a very relatively small school, so
Yeah.
to say. So everybody knew. It's like the kids in the lower grades, they knew the kids in the higher grades as well. So it's like, then the littering got an issue. So that had to be a thing of now I had to sell illegally, so to say. But I think that was maybe my first thrill or like the first fuel or spark for entrepreneurship. And ever since then, I've just been trying to figure out to do whatever I can, whether it's just printing stuff like t-shirts and stuff, or just doing your own little printing shop at home and stuff. I used to do that as well. So people cause I realized like where I stay, at least, they are printing shops, but not accessible and quite nearby and also affordable as I was. So I think it's just something that started ever since I was young. Not really something I would say I was exposed to, but it's just something that has been within me, just trying to find a way or means to survive and make it through.
Yeah. So one of the things I've noticed is with entrepreneurship on YouTube and everything, it's mostly central on online businesses.
Yeah.
And I've seen, especially in Namibia, people are not really keen with paying stuff online. I mean, I've seen them a little bit becoming more comfortable, but the majority is not online driven. It's more physical things and physical services. What do you think about that? Do you feel like this space for like Namibian to give a different version of what entrepreneurship means here, as opposed to the content we get online?
I think to answer, you have to look things like in the grand scheme of things. Obviously, when you refer to like entrepreneurs on the internet or on YouTube, to be specific, the content that they try and put out there usually tries to cater to a specific market and not to the general public or the whole world, even if they do claim so. Because I think to provide like solutions to like Namibian problems. You need Namibian solutions for that part. And I think that's where even Namibians in general, we're quite hesitant even for just any sort of online transactions.
Yeah.
Never mind just purchasing a cap or a hoodie or something, because you're always most likely, or there's the fear of your fall to scams and stuff like that. So the content, I think, has to be catered more to what a third world country would really need, and what type of aspects or avenues to venture into. I personally know not a lot, maybe one or two people that do drop shipping. I'm not entirely sure what it is as well. They've just told me and given me some sort of briefing and how it works and how much money they make and stuff. But I think those are markets or business that are quite successful more that side as opposed to the traditional, what we know. Like you mentioned, we prefer the physical interaction of business. And I think that just comes from who we are as maybe not just Namibians, but as Africans, historically, so we've always had the back end of society. So we've always had to work a little bit harder, or just do a little bit more. And I guess just sticking to the traditional route is what we've been exposed to and is what we know. I think it's like you stick to what you know. If it hasn't failed, then you just run with it still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In your interaction with a lot of entrepreneurs, and where you work currently, you currently focus with a lot of entrepreneurs.
Yeah, a lot. Mainly your small micro entrepreneurs. Yeah, those are the ones that we mainly work with.
Yeah. What's the niches and markets that you've observed those guys to be into?
Mainly production and service provision. Production, I've met guys that make honey. Also people that do sorts of your graphic designing and stuff that offer those kind of services, tutoring as well. Also there's a lot of advocacy work that I think that has picked up in the recent years. So there are guys that focus or like to engage with the boy child and to empower them and uplift them through various means as well, which is also the same for the girl child as well. So I think it's a lot of diversity. I wouldn't say there's one specific niche that stands out. Obviously your traditional ones, so to say, now would be, of course, your barbers, your hair salons and stuff like that, your nail techs and so forth. Yeah. Those are probably the common ones, but I wouldn't say there's a specific niche. It's quite diverse, to be honest. Yeah. Very diverse.
Yeah. What's the one thing that you feel like most of them struggle to have? Is it money? Is it connection? Like what's the one thing if they had it would make?
Obviously money. Obviously. Because even if you ask an entrepreneur now, what's the one thing that you need? Obviously they would say money, but that's the one thing of entrepreneurship or business in its own. The money comes at the end or it comes afterwards. The first thing is obviously just make sure you have a solid business plan or solid business idea that people can tap into, because people relate more to stories than to a product. You can't just be selling hair or something, there's got to be a little story to it or some sort of motive just to trigger people to want to invest or spend their money in it. So I think is the knowledge. I would say knowledge, which is what we try and do. Knowledge and just being linked to certain opportunities that are available. Everybody wants funding, which is like number one, but then there's the behind the scenes, like, do you know that your business has to be registered? That's one big one, especially when people are trying to secure tenders and so forth. That's one requirement that they want as well. So you have to have your business registered. Do you know how to balance your books and so forth as well? So the accounting aspect of running a business is also important. It's those little key fundamentals that we usually tend to overlook, customer service, how to retain your employees and also employee satisfaction, all these things. The nitty gritty stuff is what I think most entrepreneurs tend to lack or tend to ignore. But I guess it's understandable given the nature of the business that they operate in. It's very fast paced and they're also in it to try and get the money because they got to survive, rent is due at the end of the month. So you can't really honestly be worried about running around with Nambra for business registration and all this type of stuff. But it is essential, a very essential component of having a whole business from like top to bottom and bottom to top.
Yeah.
I think when we also go into business, it has to be for the right intentions, because if you're trying to start a business and the only picture you see is getting profit, then that's the only thing you're going to prioritize. And that's where you neglect all the other aspects. So you wouldn't care about how customers feel about your certain product or service that you provide. For you, as long as they paid, I'm good. And you can pay your employees and you can get your profit. That's all that matters. I think you have to approach it from a passion point of view, I guess also. Like you have to be passionate exactly about what you're doing. Because I think they say, what's the quote? if you do what you love,
Yeah.
you're never really spending it, or you never really have to work, or it's not a job. So I think it comes from that, having to identify or figure out what your passions are, what you're interested in, and perhaps seeing how you can turn that passion into a viable business or a successful one, of course. Obviously, this comes with extensive research. I think that's also something you have to do.
Yeah.
So if that means going out in the market and exploring, perhaps you might even have to talk to your competitors or future competitors just to find out how they started and how they were able to get to where you want to be. I can't stress the point enough about just having a network of like-minded people or people that are also within the space, because that's where you also get to rub off your ideas, and you also get solid advice and recommendations in terms of, oh no, you need papers for this and this. No, I know a guy, go talk to this. Oh, you need what? No, I know a lady, go talk to her, she's over there, those type of things. So it's important just to have a well-rounded structure before you actually venture into business.
Yeah. So with the knowledge that you have about entrepreneurship, if you were, okay, there's maybe two versions of people. There's some people that do it because of necessity, like the rent is due to today.
That means to survive,
They have to survive. Yeah. And there's obviously the other ones that are trying to, maybe students, or they have some sort of, they work in a 9 to 5, but they want something for themselves. So they have a bit of security,
of course,
but they want they want to build something. So if you were in the first version, the first type of person where you're doing it out of necessity, how would you go about starting a business from scratch?
I don't want to lie, because there's cameras. I'll probably be desperate, won't I? I'll be trying to figure out how am I going to get as many customers as possible. But I think the best way, or the first thing I'll do, is try and find a quick service or product that I can offer, whether it's buying something and reselling at a higher price or something like this. You just have to be creative and innovative when you are in that, if you are the first person, of course. It's obviously just having to identify exactly what can I do just to get that quick cash. Obviously, like they say, the quicker the money comes, the faster it goes, right? Yeah. So I think you have to have financial discipline as well. But when you're a student specifically, it's like you mentioned, it's out of necessity. You gotta find means to survive. So you're not necessarily thinking about all these things. You need groceries, you need books, or whatever it is, taxi money or Yango money, whatever it is that you need. So you can't really be thinking about saving and investing and all this, because the money you need it for now. So it's just about finding something that can be done and that has a quick turnover in terms of profit for you.
Yeah. So it's mostly a physical product. Like, you find something, you buy it cheaper, you sell it.
I think that's like the best one, or something, resell something. Or maybe you can offer services. People they come to you and come to barbers. I see like mobile barbers are quite also a thing that's picking up. So people can come to your house or place of residence to do your hair or cut your hair. They do laundry also, just room or house cleaning and stuff like that. It's just about finding ways. I actually have a buddy who started a business recently where he cleans people's yards. And it was also the same thing. He's a student as well, and he just came about like just to get extra cash on the side as well. So he put out a little flyer, did an advert and everything like that. But you see, that's beginning stages, but his vision is that he knows to get out there, you gotta have some sort of promo. And that's what he did, his own little videos. He was sharing like, just put it on your status, let your people know and stuff and whatnot. Yeah, and I also gave him the tender. Nice. Since I know him, obviously I get a friend discount for that. But, it's how you're just able to help other people. So you got to either offer a service or a product that people need like yesterday, immediately. So you're not like there for 2 weeks and still waiting and zero clients or customers.
Nice. Okay, the product thing, it's a little bit straightforward. So maybe it depends on what you're selling. You would probably go to a place where people pass by there and then you just install
but like I mentioned, you gotta have a nice story to it, Like if I'm selling like this rubber bands, or like how am I gonna come if I see you across the street, down the street, where just rubber bands, $20, rubber bands, like you really have to have rubber band that was made in China by whoever, you gotta put a little story, because that's what people will tap into. You tell them, oh no, and then the money or a percentage of the cut goes to a charity that fights for this and that. There's something that people even know, like, oh, at least my money that I earned or that I worked hard for and I put it to this is going to a good cause also, because that's what people really tap into. It's not necessarily mainly about the product or the person that's selling it, but the story behind the product. I think like when you look at major brands like your Nikes and stuff like that, it's the same thing, that same reason why we tap into brands like Nike is the story of Michael Jordan, and just how the whole brand started and was able to rise when competitors like your Reebok and Adidas were all thriving during that period, and how today, if you had to mention a shoe brand, at least on the top of your head, Nike will probably be first.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the story that mainly that we tap into, that we buy, so to speak.
Yeah. Okay, you have the story, you have the product. How do you let people know that you're selling this thing? Because you could have a good thing, but nobody knows, and that's how you don't sell anything.
I guess that's where the marketing and branding would come in. I'm not really too much of an expert on the marketing and branding, because usually when we have like the workshops and stuff, like we do numerous financial literacy workshops, and part of the topics that we try and provide or cater for is branding and marketing. So we'll get the experts, of course, and they will come tell you, like, it's not just about, this is Nate's podcast or whatever. It has to be everything from logo designs to the font to how it's shaped and all these things, graphics and stuff like that. Also promo, like how you're marketing your business. And there has to be a difference in terms of like the business and the brand or the person that owns the business, because if people catch you doing a lot, like perhaps consuming alcohol in the public and stuff, and it's today's age with social media, it's quite easy for you to go viral. It's like tomorrow, and then they know, like, oh, this is the guy that owns that business. It's not necessarily like people would want to spend or come engage with your business also. So I think just how you manage yourself and your business is very important, but you got to market it. So however you market it is creating posters, going out there, make sure you at festivals, at events. There's a lot of events where you don't necessarily always have to pay a certain fee to set up shop or to set up a stall. So you can just go there and try and attract customers the best way you can. Yeah.
Okay. You've worked with sponsors and government agencies that try and, elevate the entrepreneurship landscape. What would you say those organizations offer to like entrepreneurs?
To be honest, there are quite a lot of organizations that try and uplift or empower the Namibian entrepreneurs. Obviously, as like we discussed earlier, the main thing that entrepreneurs need or seek is capital. So I think like major corporates that are in position to, that's the one thing that they offer. So they would obviously have some sort of, I wouldn't say a competition or whatever that they run, or program, so to say, that you will have to participate and take in for you to be eligible to receive a certain funding. But then also I know certain organizations that offer mentorship. So with whichever industry or niche that you are in or that your business in, they would link you with an appropriate mentor just for you to have those one-on-one meetings and consultations to obviously get advice, recommendations, and to figure out where you're going wrong and stuff. And also just theoretical aspects, business plan, how to draft proper business planning, and obviously compliance with your NAMBRA and your BPAS and all this is the legal side of it. So there are a lot of organizations, and the information is there, honestly. It's just about us perhaps not having that kind of ear or knowledge in terms of like, this is where you go when you start a business. Like, you gotta register your business and have this name, because you start your business and then 3 years down the line, when you think you've made a 3 million profit, NAMBRA is going to come here and tell you, oh, my boy, you've never been paying for the yearly rate or returns and stuff. And now all of a sudden you thought you're about to take holiday to Bali. Now you got to pay up and all of that. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of opportunities and resources. They are available, but it's all about having to access it by ourselves also. Yeah. You also got to make that step. You have to be willing to. Yeah.
What are some companies that you can point out in Namibia that?
I know DBN. Development Bank of Namibia. I know they do mentorship. They offer mentorship. Also FLI. They do a lot of just financial aspects in terms for like business owners, like how to manage your finances, how to balance your books and stuff like that. They're quite a lot. It's one of those where you always know but now like you can only remember, I guess those are the top I can think of now.
Those two again.
But they are there, trust me. Yeah.
And just maybe just for curiosity, those companies, when they do that, is there something that they benefit, or is it just something they have to do for like charity?
Oh, no, I wouldn't say charity. Obviously for them, it's maybe attachment to the person's business. Obviously, when the business does blow up or become successful, obviously they can attach themselves to it, so to say. But obviously for them also, I think there is some sort of benefit, or a motive for that, besides just it being a corporate social responsibility. I think also it's just the whole point of uplifting Namibians in terms of creating opportunities and also just trying to decrease the whole unemployment rate as well. Because you empower one person with a business, they in turn can also empower a few others, and then the chain continues, and that's where you're able to tackle problems like the high unemployment rate in the country.
Yeah.
So I think it works, it interlinks with certain aspects, and then it just forms like a whole grand puzzle at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's very good because it helps someone that has a business to kind of understand in the point of view of the company they're going to ask for
Exactly.
sponsorship,
100%.
like what do they benefit?
Yeah.
Then you can sort of tailor your pitch in that.
That's
in
also
that,
good. Yeah, there are also businesses like Basecamp, I believe. They assist with like pitching or business pitching and stuff. I know they have, I don't know if they still do it, annual competitions for business pitching. Yeah. So, and they offer training for that as well, to do speed pitching or just relative general pitching, which is also good because when you want investors or you want funders, you have to know.
Yeah.
You know, they have different kind. I think I attended one of them and they mentioned different kinds of pitches. So like obviously there's a general one like, oh no, you can come, you have your sharks or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you have to pitch your business for your 5-15 minutes. Then there's also speed pitching where perhaps you're in an elevator at the Hilton and then you run into a funder that you know, or entrepreneur that you know is established. In that 1 minute in that elevator, you have to be able to sell your business to the point where like once they leave or get out of the elevator, they convinced or they hook like, yeah, it's just definitely worth an investment or at least worth another meeting type of thing. So those services and knowledge are offered, but entrepreneurs also have to seek it for themselves.
Yeah. Has there been any case study that you've sort of seen grow from a very basic phase to now maybe making better than they were doing in the past?
Oh yeah. Like I work for the One Economy Foundation, right? Yeah. So part of that, they had, a One Nation fund, they call it. So this was a fund that was able to assist entrepreneurs that had viable business ideas and also had been in operation. So obviously they got funds from through different partnerships that were formed for this One Nation fund. And one of them, like I mentioned, was the Mutete juice guy. So he's one of the beneficiaries or recipients of these funds. And he says, when I spoke to him, at least the way the foundation or the people engaged with him and continued pushing him to pursue the business or to not give up is something that he's very appreciative of, because there were moments where he felt like, is this even going to work? Because before they even got to making the juice, they used to do other sort of byproducts that they used to work with, all natural stuff, of course, but they were not as popular or they were not as consumable as the juices was. Then he decided to divert or to pivot into making the juice, and Lord knows today at least he's able to have his, I think it's in over 60 stores, like nationwide.
Nice.
Yeah. And obviously now they're busy trying to phase it out to export it to obviously locally first before they can do it internationally. And the market is there from what he said, like there is a need for it, but now it's just having to balance the whole thing of getting the raw materials and having to produce at a larger scale, because you don't want to produce at a large scale and the demand becomes more than the supply. Yeah. But that's, I think, one story that I can give where he's like, when I started, it was very small, but then it's through years and the foundation kept on pushing me and assisting me with the funds. His business today, now they have a factory, he has employees and all of this. And now he's planning to branch out, of course, like exporting internationally. So yeah, it's possible, honestly, but like he's the one who actually even told me, like, it's not everyone that's cut out to be an entrepreneur. You really first have to sit with yourself and understand. There'll be days where you're lonely, you're depressed, you want to cry and all these things. So you have to be able to, so to say, like, have hair on your teeth, type of thing. You have to be tough, honestly.
Yeah.
Because
you said not everyone is cut out to be entrepreneur. But then it's like almost, especially, I don't know, that's maybe because I'm a guy, but I feel like with guys, I don't know about the girls, but they probably also do. But I feel like with guys, it's like, even when they're working, there's always that thing of like, I need to do like some side hustle or something,
I guess when you say like guys, obviously that comes from just who we are as men. That sense of wanting to provide or having to provide. So obviously you're always thinking, like, you're never just stagnant or stationary. You're always thinking of what can I do? What should I do? And you always think, of course, side hustle. That's the best way to do it now. But now when you have a 9 to 5 and all of this, it becomes a bit tricky. You have to find the balance within it all. But I think women also, because within the space that I've been in now, I've seen a lot of female entrepreneurs and with viable ideas too. Obviously, it's not, they don't just do your traditional, these are just your caterers or they just do nails and hair and stuff. There's also women that are into agriculture or obviously into health and various kind of industries as well. So I want to say, I want to lean towards like, I think women.
Yeah.
Yeah. From my experience, I think I've seen women that are more into trying to venture into entrepreneurship and start businesses. Whereas I think men, we're just thinking of survival.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not necessarily like starting and creating a business for whatever purpose that you might want to do, like maybe to establish a legacy or something like that. It's just more of from a survival standpoint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What skills do you think are important personally, like soft skills for an entrepreneur?
Soft skills. Oof. I mean, obviously, computer literacy, like we can count that as a soft skill.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think that's one soft skills. Oof. That's a good one. Honestly, never even thought of it like that. But I think definitely just being tech savvy in terms of just knowing how to work yourself around certain applications, Microsoft and stuff like that. Also, just content nowadays is a very, very important skill to have, because through content is how you can also attract customers, especially if you are one of those visual people on the social media pages. So I think content creation is a skill. I don't know if we classify that as soft though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be, maybe what goes behind making the content is the soft skill.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that one is practical. You have to really be outside and be doing the type of content. But yeah, I think that's also another important skill that entrepreneurs should have or should possess. And things like having, what to say when I ask you or introduce yourself. Etiquette, would you say? Yeah, etiquette. Yeah. You gotta have, there's a certain business decorum that you have to maintain when you're speaking around professionals or established entrepreneurs, because you can be, hola my bra, who's that? Or you can't be trying to talk. That's not the setting, that's not the environment. So how you conduct yourself, what you say, certain words also. It's important also about just being intentional with what you do, everything you do, what you say as well. That's definitely something that you should have, because that way I think it gives you that one foot in already. Because if you're intentional about how you move already, it's not necessarily like when you are in a certain room, you have to always advertise yourself. Certain people already know because of how you've conducted yourself. So sometimes, as they say, just even when no one's watching, just do the right thing, Yeah.
Nice. What's one thing that if you were looking back to your younger version of yourself, that you would advise them with the knowledge that you know now?
Sure. Obviously, I think the first one would be learn a skill. Whatever skill it is. Like, obviously, if you are young, it's where you have more energy, so to say. The older you get, time is not necessarily, it becomes a luxury, so to say. So I think learn a skill or acquire a skill, whatever it is, something with your hands. Even if you're good with typing, then that's what you focus on and craft there. Because later on you might have to draft letters for people or CVs or update CVs, whatever it is. Or just a skill is what I would advise. Learn some sort of skill. I don't know. There's this video that's been going around like on social media where they've been comparing the education systems in China and the ones that we have in Africa. And I think the Chinese kids, kindergarten kids, I want to say, and they're busy manufacturing, like just putting little Lego bricks together. Some are doing electrical work. They're doing, some are barbers, others are doing hair, this type of things.
Practical
stuff. Yes, what they're doing. Whereas obviously our education system is set up a bit different, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think that's why I'm trying to stress the whole point of like, it's better that you learn a skill from a younger age. So the older you get, you can develop it or perhaps diversify it or pivot it into a way you can cater to a certain market or a certain niche.
Nice.
So a skill would definitely be one advice that I'll give like to the younger people that are just trying to start or do something in the entrepreneurial space. Yeah.
Pick one skill and
just,
be better.
one or two, doesn't matter. You're young, so you have time, definitely. With the time, of course, we might realize, okay, maybe this one is not viable enough or there's not an opportunity for it. You gotta consider things like the rise of AI as well, So soon enough, certain jobs also might not be available. So you gotta really do, I guess, some research just before you decide to pick up a skill. But a practical skill definitely is a good starting point for sure.
Nice.
Especially while you're young,
Nice.
And just the entrepreneurship foundation, like besides just being good with your hands and stuff, you have to know mentally and stuff like this. Like, what does it take to be an entrepreneur? What is required? All these type of things. Having a business, what does it look like? And that's where you have to, we all have uncles and fathers or brothers that attempted or that are in the space. So there's also people that you can talk to. Doesn't always have to be your CEOs, your MDs or your professionals, Your everyday person that you see is just hustling or trying to make means, just engage with them and see like what they will tell you. You can always take something from everyone.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's good. That's good. Where can people reach out to you if you want to connect to you?
I started LinkedIn.
Yeah. Yes, okay,
So maybe that's a good point or good opportunity for me to plug my LinkedIn. But otherwise I'm available via email.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't, if you want me, can I drop it?
Oh, I can put it in the link.
Oh, okay.
It's
Yeah.
easier
Yeah.
to
Otherwise
copy
I'm
and
mostly accessible via email. I don't know about my phone number and stuff like
No,
that.
that's
But
probably not a good idea.
yeah, but either LinkedIn or email. I really try and keep my distance from social media. It's just too much that goes on there.
Yeah.
So even when I'm on social media, my feed is customized in a way that I'm only there seeing what I need to see or what I want to see.
Yeah.
So it's just business related stuff. If it's sports or if it's certain news, then yeah, for sure.
Nice.
But available LinkedIn and email.
LinkedIn and email.
Yeah.
Perfect. This was really cool. This was really informative.
Yeah.
Thanks for making the time.
Oh, thanks for reaching out, man. I really enjoyed the conversation. Probably looking forward to another one.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Cool.
Thanks, man.
Cheers.
Cool.